All right, so welcome to a little bit. I'm not going to waste any time on the intro because I don't really have that much of things to say, because what I want to really do for this episode is kind of have a freewheeling conversation about political stuff, just generally, and getting you ready for the election of 2020, who can support what, and just everything to do with politics. So we're gonna take you behind the beltway, so you're no grand opinions or political. Just want to talk about politics, talk about how it's looking for upcoming elections. We take a little bit behind the beltway in this one to get you prepared for 2020. And I do want to start because this is actually, you're really joining us, James. By the way, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate that. And it's really kind of appropriate here because we had a pretty long conversation before we went on air, and literally we just started the show. Before we started the show, we were just discussing this piece of news about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, where really Wall Street Titans, is what Lee Fong calls it in The Intercept. They've been financing a direct challenge to the firebrand progressive lawmaker in New York. So disclosures show at least 24 financial industry professionals, including several prominent private equity executives and investment bankers, made early donations to Michelle Caruso Cabrera, a former CNBC contributor who is challenging Cortez. Caruso Cabrera was a registered Republican until a few years ago and authored a 2010 book advocating for several conservative positions, including an end to Medicare and Social Security, which he called a pyramid scheme. So, in terms of drawing contrast here, I think AOC should have no problem with that. Definitely knows how to paint her villain. I think she's a much better politician than Bernie Sanders. Much better politician than Bernie Sanders in terms of really going to no scruples in painting your opponent and really casting a narrative about the campaign that you're trying to run and what you're trying to prove to voters. So that kind of stuff, she's gonna have her work cut out for her here. I don't know if she's really a serious candidate yet, but I would love to see the battle here. If she can really, if Michelle Caruso Cabrera becomes a threat, and AOC really kind of has to engage in direct campaigning with her, and then just smacks her down, which I think she probably will. I think it'd be very good to see. But also, there's we can get to the other member of the squad that's getting primary challenge in the second, Rashida Tlaib. But I just want to give you a chance to react to that there. What standing is she in?
It really depends here, because the standing that she could be in here in this district it depends on how much money is going to be given to her. And the reason why I say that is because she can run a similar message as AOC, because, she's Hispanic in a majority minority congressional district. And honestly, if she just campaigns in the Queens part of the district, she can easily beat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason why I say that is because that is the area in which there's the majority of the votes in the district, but that is also the area where there's the majority of the minorities, more towards
also
the Hispanics. I know she's also minority.
Yeah,
I know.
She's the same race. I don't think that's a card she could play.
Well, but the fact of the matter is, though, at least she isn't someone like Crowley, who's a white guy walking around there trying to say, "Can I have your vote?"
But not if she portrays him as a sellout.
Well, but if you look at but Crowley was a sellout, though, because Crowley campaigned there and he won 4 times. So the fact of the matter is, yeah, he won, but the fact he didn't really actually campaign as hard. I don't think she's a serious threat.
He was practically given the seat by the Queen's Machine, though. I think his father was very prominent in that area, so he didn't really have a.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not a thing that she can't win. She's got this is perfect ads for AOC. These are softballs down the plate for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez here that I'm reading in The Intercept. Medicare and Social Security are pyramid schemes. How many people in that district? This district is the hardest hit in the nation. Rely on government assistance programs, entitlement programs, Medicare, Social Security. This is a working class neighborhood to the T. Full of it's really representative of the working class. A lot of the working class of this country, especially the minority working class of this country, the 14th district is, and it's got all these minorities, all these working class people that are getting hit hard by the coronavirus, and this is probably the worst time for her to run, because I just feel this is she's lobbying with this record. Billionaire donors include Glenn Hutchins, co-founder of Silver Lake Partners, James Passon of Firebird Capital, Bruce Schnitzer of Juan Partners, Jeffrey Rosen of Lazard, Bradley Seaman, managing partner of Parallel 49 Equity. These are all people who run these very vicious private equity like company is like, this is the stuff that AOC was like. This is the campaign that AOC was like born to run. Like, this is her perfect opponent. It's like Bernie Sanders and Michael Bloomberg almost.
I'm not denying that at all, but I think what's going to be interesting here to watch with this race, I'm not saying that AOC is going to lose. In my opinion, do I think she's going to lose? No, I don't really think so. I mean, I understand she's getting a lot of money, the challenger here, but I think what's going to really matter here
AOC will not struggle for name recognition in her district, that's for sure.
No, I didn't. No, I wasn't going to say that at all. Actually, No, I don't think she would at all. But actually, arguably, she might actually in certain areas. So I'd say, and the reason why I say is because the people who drove her win were young people in the Bronx and in slight areas of Queens Bayside in particular, which is, a majority white part of Queens. Hispanics didn't really go out overwhelmingly and vote for Ocasio-Cortez. If you look at the primary results more in depth in Jackson Heights, which is the biggest. Well, not city, like a neighborhood, may I say, in the district right now. It's a huge neighborhood in the district. It has a lot of people, but do I think that this lady's in the window? I don't think she's going to win against AOC.
All right, yeah. So I think I do want to turn now to this other primary challenger, James, who is challenging Rashida Tlaib, Brenda Jones, a big figure in the machine there, the establishment in Detroit. She's the support of people like the grandson of John Conyers, who held that seat forever. So even the founder of the Commercial Black Caucus. Like, what are your thoughts on this race?
Oh, that race is going to be more interesting to watch than AOC's race. If you want my
for sure.
Truthful opinion. And the reason which I say that is because first of all, she's a black woman running in a minority district, again, leaning towards blacks. And when comparing her to someone like Caruso in NY14, Brenda Jones held the seat. She's also right now on the Detroit City Council, or maybe I think she was. I have to go back and check if she is or was on it.
I think she was former. Like she ran in 20. She held the seat. I think she was the interim for Conyers.
Yeah, no, she was, but she had local matters in Detroit. I'm going to look at her now, but getting back to what I was saying with Brenda Jones, the reason why I think that she could be really interesting to watch is because, first of all, she held the seat. And yes, she is the president of Detroit City Council, which is another, major thing that really can give her a big boost comparing her to Rashid. And, she doesn't – the thing that with Brenda is that she can use her – local popularity in the sense of her name recognition in Detroit, because she actually doesn't live in the district, but because the fact of Michigan state law
for Rashida Tlaib there,
but she lives 2 blocks away from the district line, so it's basically like walking outside your door and walking like a minute away, and then you're in the district. So she isn't outside of the district by that far.
Yeah, okay. So it's not like she AOC said, but Joe Crowley, who was like living in Virginia while he was trying to run the Bronx, like.
Yeah, which is kind of ridiculous to be frank, but no. She Rashid's district goes into Detroit on the western portion of it, so technically Brenda Jones is still representing a lot of the people in Tlaib's district on the city council. But getting back to the story, I think that when we look at Brenda Jones and how much money she's getting right now, she's getting quite a good amount of money from the DSCC. Tlaib is getting. Excuse me, not DSCC, DCCC. Got my a little confused
really?
there. Yeah, DCCC. Yeah.
Is that true?
That's what I was reading about. But maybe they changed.
So they're getting involved. They're getting involved against Rashida Tlaib already.
No, they're giving money to Jones.
Oh, sorry, against because didn't they say they were supposed to have this like neutrality thing against incumbents though?
They were, but it seems like they went against it. I think what they said was because Brenda Jones was an incumbent. They try to play the strings a little bit here.
Looks like she was a representative. She was president. She is the president of the Detroit City Council.
And then she was the representative a couple months ago. 2 years ago, excuse me, when she was put on for the position, and then she got voted out in the primary against Rashida. But this primary is going to be definitely an interesting one to watch, and I think the reason why is because this is more of an actual contender. To be quite frank, Brenda could definitely really, I think she could beat Rashida in all terms if she actually seriously runs and runs hard for this seat. And the reason why I say that is because she's known by the locals. She's on the city council. I mean, these are just check marks after check marks that kind of help her out. Now,
Yeah, she's
Rashida,
gonna have pretty much. She's gonna have also support of the machine, quote unquote.
yeah, I mean, that's true. And also the governor of Michigan, I believe, endorsed Brenda the other day when she was talking about it on the news. So that definitely probably would give her a bump. But in regards to who I think will win, to be truthful, it comes down to how much each candidate campaigns. If Rashida is like, you know what, I'm going to win this because I won last time, I'm just going to stay in Washington and sort of do what, for example, what a lot of the senators did in 2018, for example, what Joe Donnelly and Bill Nelson did. They didn't campaign enough in their state and they lost badly. If she does, which is not incorrect to do, I would do that as well because I'm an elected official. I'm supposed to be in Washington doing votes, not campaigning. So if she does that and Brenda seriously takes advantage of that to the point, what I mean by taking advantage, I mean that she is knocking on every single door in that district and making sure that, they know that she's running and this and that, because that's what you have to do. That's what Rashida did, and that's what Ilhan did, and that is what a lot of the people who came out, and even some of the, for example,
AOC
Ben
did
McAdams in Utah did that as well.
Way as well.
He beat out Mia
Love. That grassroots volunteer support, knocking on doors is so huge, especially if you're running an insurgent campaign. That is the path to victory.
You need that. That's really the push to
Absolutely.
the finish line. You have to have that, especially in a district like that. That's a very 100% urban district. You have to do the grassroots because that district gets affected a lot by many big corporations. We have the oil companies that are there that are polluting the air. That district has some of the dirtiest air, actually, which is something that Rashida actually had ran on. And Brenda sort of ran on it. But the fact of the matter is, Rashida was hammering everyone on the stage because there were 6 other candidates there.
She too is a great politician, I think.
She is a good debater. I don't agree with her views, but she is a good debater. I will give you that. I think she's better than AOC on debating because AOC looks like a 5-year-old sometimes when she debates, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, well, they're both really incredibly fiery. Ilhan Omar too, she's one of the she's an incredible inspiration. I mean, Ayanna Pressley, her too, although she hasn't been really in as much of a spotlight. Yeah,
I'm not really. If I was a progressive, I wouldn't really be proud of her right now, to be frank.
I mean, I probably feel
because she
about
endorsed
her...
Warren and she refused to endorse Bernie. And Bernie, by the way, helped her win that seat. So that's kind of a middle finger to Bernie. And in some,
did he? Did Bernie campaign for?
Yeah, she did. He campaigned a lot actually for her because that was a hard district. She ran against an incumbent there as well. But the incumbent wasn't taking it seriously either, that race. But she was on the spot again.
Who was pretty
she's
Michael Capuano was pretty progressive as
yeah.
well.
And also she was on the city council like Brenda Jones. So similarity there I'm trying to bring up. She was on the city council in Boston, Ayanna Pressley I'm talking about now. So she had that going for her. She had the name recognition. And the district was pretty small she ran in. So she probably did pretty big residue movement, but she also had the name recognition going for her and a lot of other things, which is something as well that going back to Massachusetts, with Joe Kennedy and Ed Markey, that's going to really help. That's going to help Kennedy out a lot in the sense that he's known, he's a Kennedy.
Yeah, that name recognition
can
be very helpful.
Massachusetts, that's gonna be good.
But hopefully you think it's? I think it's probably a big part of the fact that she's part of Massachusetts politics. I have much more negative feelings than I have for Elizabeth Warren than I have for Ayanna Pressley. Totally.
Yeah, I could see your point there, but if I were a progressive, I would be a little bit disdained about Ayanna Pressley's decision to not even endorse Bernie after Warren had dropped out of the race. She pulled a trick like Warren did. She endorsed Biden the other day, but she did that because she realized that the majority of her supporters were and walked over to Biden. But she didn't want to actually get all the progressive young people who supported her. See, Warren had an interesting campaign. I don't really understand it, but
really,
this is really how it goes.
Yeah, what? Actually, we could probably shift because that's a really also an interesting conversation. As she now is endorsing Joe Biden, I think we could say probably for completely political purposes. She's done who else are you gonna endorse? There's no one else to endorse.
No,
but
she did a strategic method to not get anyone upset. To be quite frank.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, and she really tried to play it down the middle, and then the whole thing just fell on her. I think that's also the kind of story of her campaign as well, because she
definitely
that's pretty much how you sum it up.
Her campaign was a disaster.
Totally, yeah. I do want to talk about it, but I do want to play this message first. We'll be talking about that after this. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough for listening to programming from the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. It really means a lot. So if